All right, Faking It fam, we are live. How are you doing? Good morning, good afternoon. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Faking It podcast. I'm your host, Miriam Haart, and this is our 8th episode. This is marking 2 months of me doing this podcast with you all. I've grown immensely throughout all of this experiences. I've made so many mistakes, and I've had so many successes, and I want to thank all of you for helping me throughout this journey of mine. I'm so happy to be a part of this with you all. And yeah, I'm doing this because every single time I get one message, just one, about how an episode of mine has inspired or helped or made somebody feel heard, it makes all the difference to me and it keeps me going. So thank you so much for everyone who's giving me your feedback. And for this week's episode, we are going to do another episode of advice, Miriam's Advice Corner. And now I'm going to play some voicemails and read some messages from people who want to get my advice. So let's hear this first message from Erica, and let's hear what she has to say.
Hi, Miriam. It's Erica, and I was wondering if you would be able to do an episode about breaking up with friends.
Ooh.
It is more common that we hear about breaking up in a romantic relationship.
Definitely.
But I think that breaking up with a friend can also be incredibly difficult.
100%.
I personally have experienced this within the past year, and I'm still grieving the loss of a friend that betrayed me.
Oof, that's tough.
I think that I could really use some inspiration to help get through this because it's been more difficult than I could have imagined.
Yeah.
So any insight you could share would be greatly appreciated.
Definitely.
Okay, let me know what you think. Thanks. Bye.
Goodbye, Erica. And yeah, all right, where to begin on friendship breakups. So this is something that I do agree with Erica that it's not talked about a lot. And so I'm happy that Erica brought this up and that we get to talk about it together. I've definitely been through my fair share of friendship breakups before in the past for a multitude of reasons. And so it's hard for me to really speak, Erica, to you in particular because I don't know why you both ended your friendship, but I'll try to talk generally. And let's just say, to start off, what's really painful about a friendship breakup is that usually what is special about them is that we get to keep them even when, like a boyfriend comes and goes, a girlfriend comes and goes, but friendships are here to stay. And so that's why when a friendship breakup happens, it's so painful usually because usually we see our friends, our good friends, as somebody that will be with us for the rest of our lives as carers, as supporters, as adventurers, as people that are just there to be with us, to have fun. And so I just want to start off with saying that your feelings are valid and normal, and going through a friendship breakup is especially painful, just like a romantic breakup, because you imagine yourself being with a friend for a very long time too. But I actually have been through a friendship breakup recently, and so I can really speak on this personally. And also, as I speak to you and give you advice, I'll also be talking to myself and giving myself advice, which is funny. But I do think that if, let's say, there's a couple things actually that I want to say. All right, so one thing. 2 different people have come to me and given me this analogy. The analogy of life on a train, okay? Imagine your life as if you're on a train going down a track, and as you go down this train track, the cargo opens up and people walk on, and as you continue going down, people walk off. And this is kind of the analogy for friends in your life. You can have a friend that's in your life for 3 years and they're on your train and in your life and join you in adventures and share struggles and share strengths and share sadnesses and successes with you. But then there's going to be a point when maybe this person steps off of your train. And that doesn't mean that you didn't have a good journey with them. The journey could have been incredible, but there was an end date to the journey and they stepped off, and your train will continue to go. And as it continues to go, new people will step on. So this is one analogy to friendships. They come and go. Life is a train. We're on it. We're going in a direction, and people step in and step off. And another analogy is from another friend of mine who views life as a book. And on this book in this book where our life is made up of chapters, and maybe this friend was a part of one chapter in your life, but now is the time for you to open up a new chapter. Maybe it's when you move or something happens, or, new relationships develop, new life experiences happen, and you grow in new ways, and you grow apart, or you were betrayed, or it can be so many different things that cause a friendship to fall apart or to break up, and it could just be a new chapter in your life. And so I think just acknowledging that it's okay to have these changes, not just in ourselves, but in who we associate ourselves with. And that's something that's fine too. And a personal example is my friend Andrew. He'll actually be coming onto this podcast. He's my roommate right now, and we met when we were both freshmen, and we vibed, and he was a good friend of mine, but we spoke once in a while. I always felt in my heart that he was a real true friend, but we weren't people who just hung out all the time. We kind of had our weekly brunches, and that's how we stayed connected. And then for a full year, we barely spoke, but then I became his roommate, and now we hang out all the time, and we talk all the time, and we vibe so well, but we never really thought of each other as friends who would talk every single day, because we never wanted to do that until now. And so it's just kind of a new chapter in our friendship, where we're just hanging out a lot. And I think life is about these chapters of different people. Sometimes they leave and sometimes they come back. And sometimes they leave and then another person comes in a new way that's perfect for where you are right now. And so it's kind of like this, looking at life as a book, looking at life as this is your train, and people come on and people come off. And then the third thing that I want to say on this is about true colors. So you may wish that, let's say a situation happened that was revealing your friend in a way, or put you and your friend in a situation that caused you guys both to not be friends anymore. You may regret that the situation happened, because if it never happened, then you would still be friends and be doing all the friendship things that you've been doing with this person, right? And that's okay. I try personally to not regret anything in life. To me, it's a mindset to not regret anything. There's this Chinese proverb that talks about the person who falls off the horse and breaks their leg, but then because they had a broken leg, they weren't able to go to war, and the war that they were supposed to go to, everyone was killed. And then, it's just kind of the story of this misfortune happens and you think it's a bad thing, but then it ends up being a good thing. Then you think that's a good thing, but then it seems like it's a bad thing, but then it ends up being a good thing. And it's hard to look at something objectively. It's hard to say, I regret this, because we don't know what that experience will bring us in the future, right? So that's another way to look at it too, is that try not to regret a situation that broke your friendship, because who knows where this experience will take you. And also it reveals your friend's true colors. It shows that your friendship was put to the test and it did not pass, and at the end of the day, you want to be surrounded by people who pass the tests, who, when their loyalty is put up to the test, they fight for your friendship, or they prove to themselves, to you, that they're worthy of your friendship and of your time. And another part of this is just to value yourself highly. I think it's so important to say that I'm a bad bitch, and say that to yourself frequently. I say that to myself all the time. When I'm feeling down, I say to myself, you're a bad bitch. That's like my new thing. I used to say, you are strong, you are independent, you are beautiful, you are a woman. That used to be my life motto. I used to repeat that to myself when I was crying or I was sad. But now what I say to myself is, you are a bad bitch. And so I think just reminding yourself that you are a great person, and that this person, unfortunately, they're not in your life anymore, but that's their loss. All right? Because you will be doing incredible things. You are doing incredible things. And at the end of the day, they were not meant to be with you. They're not meant to be in your life. And so it's sad and it's unfortunate, but that is their loss. And then the next thing, the fourth piece I'll say on this, is that it's okay to grieve, and it's okay to feel sad, and it's okay to be sad. And just acknowledge that the time that you spent with this person was great. And now that you don't have them, it's okay to hurt a little bit about that, because you will miss them and you will wish that you can do some things with them again. So it's okay to feel sad and have those feelings. But the thing is that with time, you will move on. Time heals all wounds is true. And it's because actually I'm taking psychology right now. And one of the reasons why time heals all wounds is because our memory is very associative. We look at something and we think of somebody, or we think of something. And so it could be that when you do something like drink mint tea, that reminds you of your friend because you guys used to drink mint tea together, right? But the thing is, once you start drinking mint tea without your friend, or you drink mint tea with a new friend, now mint tea will be associated with new friends that you have and new experiences. And therefore you won't remember this person as much anymore because your brain will associate activities with new experiences, and therefore you will move on. So that's what, when you say time heal all wounds, that's what that really means, is that your brain is making new associations with new experiences, and replacing past experiences. So that's a little psychology tidbit as to why give yourself this time to grieve, and it's okay to be sad, and you will move on. Our bodies are made to move on. And so that should be fine. And I hope this helps. Friendship breakups are really tough and they're really not talked about. And also another last thing I'll say is that I'm literally going through a friendship breakup right now. And what I've been doing is just filling the empty time that I have now with new friends, or not new friends, but my old friends that I'm not hanging out with as much. And I'm just kind of filling the time with them. And so I've been scheduling in on my calendar to hang out with this friend and work out with that friend and study with that one. And that's been really also helpful for me to just remind myself that, oh, wait, like as much as this was great, I have all these other friends too that I've actually not been hanging out with as much. Let me hang out with them. And so maybe another thing you can do is look at who your friends are right now and try to prioritize them a little bit more and hang out with them a little bit more. And you'll see that actually you don't have to feel so lonely. But yeah, being lonely is normal. It's so easy to feel lonely right now. And I mean, this is also something that I've been thinking about a lot lately, is that because we have so much access to technology and so much access to people and talking to people, it's actually, being lonely is something that feels uncomfortable a lot of the time. When I find myself, when I'm skateboarding to class, I want to call a friend, but then I'm like, wait a second, I think it's okay for me to just not talk to somebody for a second, and just be present and in my own head. But because I could take my phone and call somebody in that moment, because I have that access, I think it makes us feel even more lonely when we're not constantly communicating with people, because it's a human need to want social stimulation. And so I think that that's another piece to it too, that we just want to be always social and always with people, unless you're introverted and you love your alone time, which is great too. I used to be very introverted, but I've lately become pretty extroverted as a person. I don't know why that is, but it is what it is. And we change with time too. But yeah, I hope this helps. Thank you, Erica, for opening up and sharing your experience. And now I'm going to read the next person who gave an input. This is from, I don't have this person's name actually, but they're cmc.corral, something like that. All right. So what does cmc.corral have to say? Hi, Miriam. Should I do like another voice? I feel like I should do another voice. Hi, Miriam. Thank you for creating this podcast. It's been inspirational. My name is Katie, and I'm an aspiring computer science professional and often struggle with imposter syndrome and self-doubt. I didn't grow up with a lot of family or emotional support and have had to kind of figure out life on my own. I always seem to battle with mental health and been finding myself in a major mental health slump lately. I also have a physical condition that causes me chronic pain, so I go through rough patches every month when my physical problems exacerbate my mental health problems. The topic that I want to request is general advice on how to live a happy and fulfilled life when you struggle with mental and physical health issues. Not to sound like the poor me mentality, but to be honest, a lot of the time I feel angry at my current circumstances and dwell on my unhealthy upbringing, and I just find it hard to live happily and feel good about myself. I often feel like my life is just so damn unfair and it makes me spiteful. Any advice on this topic would be appreciated. Sending good vibes, Katie. All right, well, we got the name. This is Katie talking. I hope you enjoyed my terrible accent. What was it? I don't know. Kind of British, kind of not. But anyways, there's so much to talk about here. Thank you, Katie, for opening up and saying all these different things. We can talk about imposter syndrome. We can talk about trying to live with chronic pain and be happy, just overall feeling happy while struggling with mental and physical health issues, and how to feel good about yourself and live a happy life. All right, a lot that I can say here. So let me talk from the beginning. Imposter syndrome. Okay, and self-doubt. This is what faking it is about, guys. It's okay to feel imposter syndrome. That means that you're putting yourself in these uncomfortable situations. It's okay to feel self-doubt. That means, once again, you're doing something that's uncomfortable. You're doing something that doesn't feel fully sure. You don't feel fully certain about it. And that's good. That's a good thing. You want to be putting yourself in these states of discomfort and uncertainty because that means you're pushing yourself. All right. And the thing about imposter syndrome is everyone feels it. Everyone feels that they don't deserve to be doing what they're doing. They don't know if this is right. We all feel that way, and it's so normal to have imposter syndrome. So my advice for when you feel self-doubt and when you feel like you have imposter syndrome, just let it exist inside of you and restructure this sensation as something that's actually good, because that means that you're pushing yourself. And eventually, as you continue to do whatever it is you're doing, in my case, you said you're a computer science professional, doing CS and having imposter syndrome is also really common. For me, there's a moment after like 6 months of coding where you're like, you have the aha moment where you're like, oh, I actually understand how classes and functions and variables and why we have loops, why that all matters, you know? Like there's a point where you're just so confused, but you're coding anyways and you feel like an imposter and then it clicks. So I would just say stick with it. It's okay to feel uncertain. It's okay to have these imposter syndrome, and eventually it will make sense. And if it doesn't make sense, that's fine too, because that means that you're pushing yourself and that's a good thing. All right. So the next thing that you're talking about is that you've been in a mental health slump and you struggle with feeling good when you have mental health issues and physical health issues. So to talk on the mental health issue thing, I think because the last episode is actually me talking about my eating disorder, and that is a mental health issue that I have. And pretty much what I can say about that is that it's tough. It's tough to be happy when you feel shitty. For me in my body, you know, I feel shitty in my body sometimes. I feel guilty all the time about what I eat. If I eat a cookie, it's like this game that I have to play in my head of, it's okay to eat the cookie, Miriam. There's nothing wrong with eating the cookie, but I have to tell myself this. And if I don't have the mental energy because I spent it studying for an exam or doing work, it's hard for me to have that mental energy to tell myself that it was okay to eat the cookie, and then I just feel bad. And so it's okay. So what can you do about this, right? Well, there are a couple things. So one thing is to identify ways that make you feel good. So this is also actually tying back to my psychology class. And actually, I'm going to pull up my notes, because in the psychology class, in this week's lecture, we talked about happiness. So let me discuss with you all ways to make yourself feel more happy. All right. So how do you reach happiness? Well, there are a couple ways. So one part is 10% of happiness is life circumstances. But it's interesting because humans, it's interesting that life circumstances only take up 10% of your happiness. If you think about it, that means that 90% is based on other things. So if you feel that your life circumstance is a reason as to why that you are unhappy, that really should only be, you should be 90% happy then. That should only take up 10%, because humans, it's called adaptation. Humans are very adaptable. So feeling shitty about yourself because of my life is just so damn unfair, my circumstances, you can actually adapt to your environment. You can actually change your circumstances and feel better about that. So that should not be kind of the reason as to why you feel unhappy. So let's talk about other ways to make yourself feel happy. What's the other 90%? So intentional activities make up 40% of your happiness. So 40% of your happiness is actually up to you. You get to decide how to be happy. And ways to be intentional and try to create circumstances that make you happy. So savoring positive experiences, using your strengths, and cultivating feelings of gratitude. These are all ways to make yourself feel happy. So gratitude, that's a big one for me. Something that I do is I write down, ways that reasons I love my body, or why I'm grateful for my life. So if you think that your life is unfair, maybe every single night write 3 things that you love about your life. That's a way to make you feel grateful for the life that you have. So that's one thing that you can do. And then another is identify ways that put yourself in situations that mitigate the negative emotions. So that's about controlling your emotions, and it's called reprisal. So reprisal is a cognitive change when you modify thoughts on a situation to be more positive. So let's say you're feeling negative because of a certain situation, then what's some sort of way to reprise this, change the meaning of a situation? And what you can do is, let's say, like for me, in a living example of this is, let's say I eat this cookie and I feel bad about myself. So one thing I can reframe is like, instead of, oh, I ate this cookie, now I'm going to gain all this weight and now I'm going to, be fat. And that to me is very scary. I can say, I deserve this cookie because I deserve to treat myself. And I kind of reframe the emotion or my emotions. Then another thing you can do is also change the situation. So that's situation modification. That's another way of changing an emotion. So another example for the cookie, if let's say I feel bad about eating this cookie, or I'm struggling, I'm sad for whatever reason, let me change my situation. So if me being in the cafeteria makes me feel guilty and makes me want to eat more cookies, let me leave the cafeteria, let me go on a walk. Something that I've identified for myself is that going on walks really, after I eat a meal, really helps me feel better about myself and my body. So maybe try to identify things that make you feel better about yourself, whether it's, listening to music, whether it's doing 10 push-ups when you're feeling stressed, calling a friend, going on a walk. Just identify these this is like cognitive behavioral therapy. It's identifying different behavioral strategies that you can incorporate into your life that help you in situations where you have feelings of negative emotions or you feel like you're in a slump. And then the last thing I'm going to say on this is, you said that you're in a major mental slump lately. So for me, something that I've noticed about myself is that I can be going, working out, hanging with friends, getting shit done, just doing, and then all of a sudden, boom, I'm hit with melancholy, I think that's what it is, yeah, where I'm just feeling sad, and if somebody asks why, I don't have a reason, I just feel sad. And this happens to me, I would say like once a month, once every 2 months, where I just hit this point of melancholy. I'm just feeling sad and there's not really a reason for it. And so in the past, when I felt this way, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to handle it. I just kind of felt bad about me feeling bad. And I felt like, oh, I'm missing all these meetings and I'm not being productive now because I don't want to be productive and this is making me feel bad. But then I changed my mindset around it. Instead of feeling bad about feeling bad and making myself go into an even deeper hole, I accepted my sadness. I accepted this fact that I just don't want to work right now and I just want to sit in my bed and watch TV. I accepted that and I allowed myself to do that. I canceled my meetings. Okay? And I experienced this for 3 or 4 days where I'm just sitting in my bed, not wanting to do anything and just talking to friends, barely talking to friends or whatever. And then after day 4 of it, I'm like, all right, Miriam, time to get your shit together. And I kind of this literally happened to me 3 weeks ago. I was just not in the mood and I was just in bed and not doing anything. And then I hit a point where I was like, all right, now if I do one more day of this, I'm actually really going to fall far behind. So let me get my shit together. And what I did was I jumped off my bed. I did 20 push-ups on the ground. I sat down, I opened my textbook and I started to do my homework. And that was to me kind of just my mindset shift of, okay, it's time to exit the state of sadness and get back to it. But I allowed myself for 4 days to kind of just be in that. And so allowing yourself to be in these situations sometimes isn't such a bad thing. And it goes back to what I said in my previous advice, is that it's okay to feel things. It's okay to feel things deeply. It's okay to be sad sometimes. And just allow yourself to go through those emotions. Sometimes I don't want to be happy. Remember that song? I like that song. That song's a good song. It's true. Sometimes I don't want to be happy and that's okay. You don't have to be happy. So just listening to yourself, but also maybe practicing the different cognitive strategies that I mentioned are some things that you can do to get out of your slump and feel good. And I hope this helps. So thank you so much, both of you. Thank you, Katie, and thank you, Erica, for reaching out, talking to me, and I hope everyone who's listening, this advice is helpful to you too. And I'm excited for the next episode. It might be with my sister, Batsheva. Very exciting. So yeah, thank you so much, everyone. Follow me at This Is Faking It on Instagram at Miriam Haart. Make sure to subscribe if you want to see the video. It's on YouTube. Tell your friends about the podcast. And I'm actually going to be giving an NFT out. So if you share this podcast episode with 3 of your friends and DM me that you did that, you will be entered into this NFT contest for a dope-ass NFT. So check it out. And as usual, kisses, bitches.